Welcome to the Peaceful Presence Podcast. If you find yourself dealing with constant busyness and distractions, or just feelings of being stuck and overwhelmed, you're not alone. This is your space to reconnect with God and discover the peace, purpose, and power that's within us all. Well, welcome to this episode of the Peaceful Presence Podcast. In a world full of negative news, it is my goal to bring you uplifting content and encouraging testimonials with a spiritual foundation. So please hit subscribe for more positive and inspiring stories. With me today is a very special guest who holds a significant place in my life. Bruce is a licensed psychologist with over 20 years of experience. He is the CEO of Jackson House, which provides treatment to thousands of individuals struggling with mental health and substance abuse. He is also a father of 4 boys, ranging in ages from 4 to 18. And to me personally, he is my husband. And when I started this podcast, Bruce and I talked about him maybe being a guest one time. And when I asked him what he would want to talk about, I thought he would say something related to depression or anxiety, but he said fatherhood. And when he said that, without a doubt, I thought that was the perfect topic for him to talk about. Hands down, he is an amazing father, and I am just so lucky to be able to share a life with somebody who exemplifies what it means to be a great father. And I think it's an important topic now too, because it's such an important role. It's our most important job. It's tiring, of course, but it's our legacy. And why did you choose that topic?
That's like emotional to, to say that, but, and thank you, for talking about me being an amazing father, and appreciate that. And, I chose that topic because, in your life, you go through so many different things, and from your childhood to, when you start to become an adult, and then, as you become an adult, and the thing that stands out, the thing that is your foundation in life is your upbringing. And when you have a really good upbringing and you have a solid foundation in your life, it sets you up for being successful and gives you the confidence in your life. And it's sort of like a rock that you can count on, that you look back on, like whether it's memories or whether the person's there or they are not there. It provides you with the pathway for success, in my mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember when we were talking about this, and I loved what you had said before when you mentioned this as a topic, and you can share with the audience, but you said, do you know what most kids or adolescents do when they come in and meet with a psychologist? Do you remember telling me about that?
Yeah. They, when they come in to talk with you, the biggest thing that I think that comes up is, like building the relationship or establishing trust with the person that they're talking to. And so and so often when kids or adolescents come in, they have had some difficulties, with their parents, or at school or with their peers or other kinds of things. And so they want to know, and they want to understand, that what's happened, and then also that they are capable and that they're able to achieve things also.
So what are one of the ways that you like to establish, trust and build kind of a rapport when you were doing therapy and counseling? What were one of the ways that you thought was?
Yeah. So, when I was in school, one of the most impactful classes that I had to become a psychologist was how kids or children that are younger, how they communicate and how they establish rapport, or how they build relationships. And one of the biggest things that I learned, like, is that children or kids, they communicate by playing. And so if you're like playing Legos, or if you're doing Hot Wheels, or you're building something, or all those kinds of things, like that's how children communicate. And then in that process, you build a big bond with your kids. And so as a father, one of the biggest things for me, when my first son was born, is that and not as a part of therapy or anything else, is just that like that you're a part of that they see you as being like in there playing and doing all the kinds of things that they do. I mean, that's a big part of your relationship with your kids.
Well, I will say, I remember when I first was dating you, and I think I went to your office, and you had a whole bunch of board games, and you did have Hot Wheel tracks, and I thought, gosh, this must be a fun job.
And Legos, and yeah.
But to carry that over into your role as a father, I mean, in our neighborhood, we've had neighbors, and going back again, we've been raising kids for 2 decades. So we've had neighbors comment on, like, Bruce is always outside, and I have one child, and I'm exhausted watching him, and that has been a common thing that many people say. You are just so hands-on, so involved, and that's why when you said fatherhood, like there's a lot of dads out there that don't engage with their children as much as you do, and that is just something that me as a wife, and even as a person, I admire so much about you, because you are involved, and each of our kids, they have different interests, and you find a way to plug in with each of them, whether it's, young age and building things with them, or playing ball outside, or riding dirt bikes with them. Like, you really are their best friend. And I think that's, not everybody can say that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And I mean, like, the thought that I have all the time is like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do today to be the parent that you want to be? And when your son asks you to go, it could be something silly like throw water balloons, or it could be something else like go dig in the dirt, or if it's something that would be more enjoyable for me, like playing baseball or playing soccer. Or go build a dam, like when it's raining outside, and so to me, like those are the opportunities and the moments that you have in life. And when you have young children like we do, and then you have an older child like we do. Like we have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old and a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old, and so those moments form the foundation of the relationship that you establish with them. And so when they get older, and it's a normal part of kids, when they become adolescents or they get into high school, to kind of branch out, and their friends become more important in a lot of ways than their parents, that you have such a strong bond built with them that they still trust, and they still like see you as being a figure that's really important in their life. Because if you don't do that when they become adolescents, they don't really care that much. Right. They just go their own way.
Right. So thinking about fatherhood, and obviously I can see how important it is to you, and does that come from a place like your own upbringing with your father?
Yeah, I mean, my dad and I were very close, and when my dad passed away, I was young. I was maybe not really young. I mean, I was like in my 20s and my early 20s, like right after I finished school, and
you had finished college.
Right. Yeah. It was before I started graduate school, and it was the most difficult day of my life. I mean, very, very difficult, and took, something that is a scar that sticks with you your entire life when you lose your father, I mean, I haven't. My mom's still alive, but
He was you've said to me too, he was your best friend too, and you did a lot together. And
yeah, like, went surfing together, went to the beach together, went, racing go-karts together. I mean, like my entire childhood, like he was
that rock.
It was at Rock. He was like involved with it, like remember like one of the best memories is, I'm like 9-10 years old and going surfing with my dad and, and my brother and it's just, that bonding time with your dad. Like you establish, like a friendship, but also like the parental respect that you should have, like, and when you have that balance as a parent, in my opinion, you're doing a great job. So you want to be close to your kids, like you're a friend, but you want to have that level of respect with them at the same time that they don't cross a line and that you can discipline them and keep them on the right track so they don't, drift too far away.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. I mean, I think that's like, if I was gonna, like kind of summarize it all just in a few sentences, I mean, that's really what it would be. It would be like, it's like trust and respect, but also that friendship and that closeness at the same time.
Right. Would you, I know at the time that your father passed, I don't know if you want to share any of this, but it was kind of a pivotal time in your life. And,
mm-hmm.
I know you had a very close family growing up, but obviously at that point, maybe everybody kind of went their separate ways, and it became a time for you to decide like about your future. And in a way, I know the story, but it was a triumphant story. If you want to share kind of where you were and how you came to be, where you are today.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, looking back on it, it was difficult. I mean, there was times where it seemed like, like, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know which way it's going to go, so.
Because your father passed away unexpectly too.
Yeah,
so
he passed away unexpectedly. I had just graduated from with my bachelor's degree from college. So that was in October, and I had graduated from college in June. And
did you remind me? Did you know what you wanted to do at that point?
Yes, I did. I knew exactly. Yeah, I knew what I wanted to do. Okay. Yeah, I had kind of figured that out, like maybe in my second year of school, and so I knew what I wanted to do. But the pathway to get to where I wanted to be was like a long road, and so when he passed away, I was essentially on my own. I was working at a restaurant, as a busboy, and got a job at a hospital in Kansas City because I was living in Kansas at the time, and working as a mental health worker, which is like kind of an entry-level position at the hospital. And so the hospital was in Kansas City, and they had an adolescent unit, and then they had a geriatric unit, and then they had an adult unit, and so it was a mental health hospital. And so the first interview, and then get the job, and then the first day on the job, and you walk into a hospital where there's people that are there, and there's on the geriatric unit, there's patients that are there that have Alzheimer's, and they're at their end of their life, and you're assigned to take care of those patients, and it's really you go through school and you get a degree, and then you actually spend time and actually working with the patients that that you spent time learning about, and it's a completely different thing. It's really really eye-opening, and
like going from reading about it and studying it in classroom to the actual setting.
Yeah, yeah. And I will never forget, there was a group that I had with there was people that were there on the unit, and there were everyday people, that were, your grandmother or your grandfather, and they had gone through, depression or anxiety or something else, and just sitting with them. They didn't have Alzheimer's or anything like that. There was other patients there that had that, but just sitting with them and talking with them and like listening to their story and listening to what they've gone through, because they had lost their husband or they had lost somebody that was really close to them, and just the time that you spend, talking with them and listening to their story and how they don't have that in their life, like how impactful and how important that is.
Meaningful it is just to have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, because they want to tell you about their life. They want to tell you about what they'd gone through, and like that alone's makes a huge difference for them.
And so you were in Kansas, but then you eventually made your way out here to California and made the decision to go on and get your master's and PhD and share that.
Yeah, so
you lost your father. You kind of lost your backbone. You didn't have the support to fall back on.
Yeah, so working at the hospital, applying to grad schools, having a bachelor's degree, didn't really know which direction my life was going to go in. Had like put all the work in undergrad to make sure that when I applied to a PhD program, which was very difficult, that I was going to be able to get in. So you apply to different universities, and they have 2,000 or 3,000 applicants, and 5 people get in for a PhD program. And so the program that I applied for here in San Diego, applied for it. Then they asked me to come out and do an interview. Completed the interview, and then working at the hospital and doing other things, and like just trying to survive and get by, and then waiting for the letter, like the acceptance letter for the PhD program to come in the mail, like checking the mailbox every day, and then that letter comes, and you're like, oh, okay, well, my life's gonna be different now.
And so you took your belongings and
I mean,
packed up your car and
packed up my car. I had like $500 and all my clothes in the back of my car, and got emotional. Oh man.
Why does that make you emotional?
I don't know, just because it was, you don't really know like which way it's going to go,
And I will say, in addition to fatherhood, like there's many things I admire about you. You put your mind to something and you make it happen. You are not a procrastinator. As long as I've known you, you decide on something and you're just full speed ahead. Sometimes you're a little too fast for me, but I guess that's where the balance comes in. But I can imagine you at that time in your life, all right, this is where I'm going to go. I mean, that takes guts. I mean, you don't know where this is going to lead. You didn't know really where you were even going to stay at the time, and you just kind of took this leap of faith, like, okay.
I knew that I needed to be at school on a Monday, and then I left. I left Kansas with my car packed, leaving from Kansas University, and my dog with me, and my clothes, and I had friends in Vegas. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop in Vegas. I'm going to visit with them, and didn't have a place to stay here in San Diego. Didn't have any money. Didn't have any support. Didn't know if I was going to be homeless or not. Like nobody to call on or nobody to help. And then I stop in Vegas, see my friends, and like one of my friends says, okay, well, I'll take care of your dog until you get a place. And then he said, he goes, oh yeah, like we have a friend April, and like April's staying down there. Like she's, you can call her up. And so the day before I'm supposed to be in school. I call April up and she's like, oh yeah, come and stay with me. And she has a 1-bedroom place and she's like, you can stay on my couch. And so that was it. I mean, like,
you had a place to stay.
Place to
you
stay.
started school Monday. And
yeah, clothes in the back of my car. No place to put the clothes because, you know, she didn't have enough room. But
when I met you, you know, it was kind of at the latter part of you getting your PhD. And one of the things, like, you were, you know, working tirelessly, still going to school, doing your dissertation, like you were doing it all. What do you attribute your drive to?
I mean, I think a couple things, you know. I mean, what you're talking about that time, and I think I worked. I mean, I was doing an internship and doing a full-time job, and then writing a dissertation at the same time. So it was like, you know, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night, and then, you know, do it all over again. I did that for a year, right before I met you, and I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I pushed myself to the edge, and I think it's just, for me, I mean, it's the biggest thing is, you know, wanting to get to the goal that I need to get to, which is, so that's, and that one big part of the motivation. And then the other is a fear of failure. Like, I don't want, you know, and I think of my dad, and when I say that, because when he died, you know, one of the biggest things that helped me, still emotional, 20 something years there. Yeah, that's right. One of the biggest things that helped me is that I'm going to show him, you know, what I'm going to become. And I'm going to show him that I'm going to be a success. And, you know, not that my dad ever doubted it, because, you know, like, he thought the world of me.
Maybe that was like your legacy to him too. I don't know if like you wanted.
I don't know. I mean, like, I think that, you know, I think the one of the best things that can motivate people is to take emotions that you have and turn them into motivation. So if you're going through pain, or you're going through hurt, or you're going through loss, or whatever it is, you know, that you take that and then you say to yourself that I'm going to do this, and because I'm feeling this way. And that really helped me through the process. So frequently think of my dad.
Having that emotional connection to something drives you to achieve the goal or go after the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you don't have emotion, if you don't have feeling when you do something,
it's meaningless.
It's just, it doesn't, it doesn't matter. And so having that deeper thing when, you know, when you're working 16 or 17-hour days and you're writing a dissertation that's, you know, 350 pages long, and doing all those things, you know, like, if you don't have something that you can point to and push yourself to the limit, then, you know, whether it's in school, or it's in sports, or it's in, like, whatever aspect of your life, then you're not going to be able to achieve it. So
maybe we started off on fatherhood. It kind of, you know, took a little bit
loss
of
and
little different
motivation
tangent.
and
yeah, but, like, just to connect those two. So what advice would you give to other parents, other fathers, and then even as it relates to motivation? You know, we see it with our own kids. You know, it's hard, and it's a lot of effort on parents to get their kids, you know, motivated and to do something these days. I mean, because there's a lot of easy distractions, and so what's some tips or advice that you have to say to help parents keep their kids motivated and engaged?
Be a friend. You so they trust you and they want to hang out with you, but but don't lose being a parent. So
how do you do that?
Well, you start with being a friend so that they can trust you. You start with, being cool, and doing stuff with them, whether it's baseball or it's, swimming or it's, riding go-karts or riding motorcycles or whatever it is. And I only have boys, so I know how to raise boys. And so if I had girls, it might, be
different.
Be a little bit different. But yeah, start with being a friend, but always shape principle and don't compromise values. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, being a parent for the last, almost 20 years, I don't have all the answers, and so you ask that question, and I'm not gonna sit up here and say that I'm father of the year or anything like that, but I feel very proud of, most proud of that in my life, of anything that's happened is, fatherhood's the most important thing in the world to me. And raising those boys is the most important thing in the world to me. And I feel like having a son going off to college now and being as successful as he's been.
And one that hasn't even started kindergarten. But go ahead.
And one that hasn't started kindergarten, yeah. And then so having a son going to college, and I get emotional because he's leaving to go to college. So I feel like what we've done as parents, it's not just me. We're talking about fatherhood, but as parents, what we've done to build that friendship with them, and then also set very firm limits with them, and raising a really strong boy who has really good values and a very, very strong work ethic is, and not being so tough on them that, they don't want to hang out with you and do stuff with you. I think that's, been a great, it's been a great thing. And
how do you find, you have a lot of energy. Where do you, and I will say this to anybody listening, is that the kids ask you, Dad, will you go work out with me? And it's 9:00 at night. Or Dad, will you make me some food? Or Dad, can you go hit some balls with me outside? Your answer is always yes. And sometimes I'm telling you to say no. But where do you find that energy? Because there could be some other dads listening, or moms for that matter. Where does that come from to where you just, do you always want to do it? Is it?
No, I just want to, I just want to sit with you and watch a movie or whatever. But, I don't know. I think it comes from the thought that, they might grow up one day and think that their dad didn't want to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. It's the thought that, the thing that would pain me the most is for my kids to grow up and then think of me as not being the dad that didn't do everything.
Mm. Well, I don't think you have anything to worry about there. I've seen it firsthand, and that's why I think when you chose this topic, I thought that's just perfect for you. We all have our struggles and our issues, but when it comes to being a dad, you are just, you're very engaged, and you really do also try to instill motivation.
Well, you're the same as a mom, and you're talking about me, but you're right in the middle of the whole thing too. And
you're different. You're definitely just the amount of engagement you have with the kids, and I think it's important. I think we live in a day and time where all parents are tired, and I get it, but you stay engaged.
I see a lot of I'm around a lot of parents that are really, really good parents, and there's a lot of parents who are really engaged on one thing, if football, or it's it's this thing or it's that thing, and that's easy to do as a parent because that's your thing. You know what I mean? But when it comes to playing chalk or, like
something boring
making pretend or like something that's not your thing. Like if you're not engaged in those things, like a make pretend balloon fight with a younger kid or whatever, like if it's not your thing, it's exhausting, but at the same time, if you're not doing that kind of stuff, then it's not, like it's not the same for a kid because every kid, all like our 4 boys, they're all different. They all are at any given time in their life. They're interested in, we have a 4-year-old that's interested in blocks and building and throwing water balloons at things. And then another one that's, has adolescent friends over and is off to college. And then another one that's interested, and so you have to be.
And biking.
Yeah. And if you're not flexible as a parent and you're not engaged in those things at those different levels, then you're not going to connect with your kids. And if you don't connect with your kids, then you don't have a relationship with them. And if you don't have a relationship with them, then you don't really know what's going to happen.
And I might even add to that, you might be surprised at something new that comes to your life that you find enjoyment in that you didn't know that you had. Like you were a soccer player all your life. You were so dead set on our kids are going to play soccer.
Yeah.
And then it was baseball became their love. Yeah. And so all of a sudden now, like, people that don't know you would have thought you probably played baseball all your life just because it became like you made that a part of your life for their sake, which is another testament to you.
Anyway. Appreciate that.
Anyway, well.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of it all, I think you can narrow it down to a few things. You have to have you have to have help. You have to have a great wife that's on the same page with you, and then you have to stay involved because, like I said before, like the thing that you learn is once the kids hit adolescence and the friends become the most important thing, whatever bond that you built with them in the before that is going to determine which direction that goes, and it's either going to go in the right direction or it's going to go in the wrong direction.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yep. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And again, if you like what you hear, please like, follow, subscribe, and share. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. I hope you found it meaningful and insightful. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share to be notified of more positive content and inspiring stories. And until the next episode of the Peaceful Presence podcast, may you find ways to reconnect within and with God and develop your own peaceful presence in your everyday life.